Hello, salut, buongiorno, and welcome to another episode of the Traveler's Haven podcast series, where we will be looking at all things true travel professionals need and need to hear. My name is Sam, and I'll be your host. Now, we've covered quite a few topics on the show thus far, but there is a key topic we have yet to fully divulge into: short-term rentals. See, Travel Nurse Houses helps travel nurses find accommodations for their assignment, which is usually, as we learned from Olga last episode, on the shorter side. In these cases, landlords that help provide housing are practicing short-term rentals. The concept itself isn't difficult, but mastering the process of making your listing standing out is. So that's why for today, we have a person of many talents, not just an author, not just a property owner, but also a short-term rental coach and community leader. Please welcome Stacey St. John.
Hey, Sam, thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I've got a couple of questions to ask you. So hopefully by the end, any concerns people may have about short-term renting will be put to bed.
Love it.
So we'll start with the very first and most simple. Who are you? I know you have quite an extensive background and you have quite a few accomplishments. So for my watchers, could you just give a short explanation of who you are and all the things you do? Because it's quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I'm a wife and mom of two boys, and that is such a joy. But I started out actually in the world of real estate investing in the long-term rental space and pivoted over into short-term rentals during COVID. And so I'm a real estate investor. I also have a property management company called Kozy Getaways, and we manage a boutique portfolio of about 40 properties. And we help connect guests with wonderful places for them to stay. And on top of my property management company and my own real estate investing, I help coach other women specifically in how to launch, manage, and grow profitable short-term rental businesses. I have a podcast called the STR Sisterhood, an few online communities for women in the short-term rental space, and really want to advocate for women to share their voices and help support each other in this incredible industry.
Hey, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, quite a bit. And the podcast too. So you know what it's like doing the podcast.
Yes, for sure.
So I have a couple questions about the short-term rentals, just so hopefully the viewers that I have, my listeners, my watchers, can start to understand just a bit about more what they can do to make their listing stand out, but maybe also the field of short-term rentals and how it stands.
Sure. Well, oftentimes, as you might imagine, someone will go to an online travel agency like Airbnb or like Verbo, Furnished Finder. There are several platforms that are syndications, if you will, of multiple properties where folks can select. And as a property owner or short-term rental host or investor or operator, I think it's really important to make sure that in order for us to stand out, we really need to understand our ideal client avatar. So who is our ideal traveler that's coming to stay? Now, for many people who have properties close by to hospitals or teaching hospital facilities, this is very, very common and has been very common for many years to offer up a home that's furnished where a traveling nurse, as an example, can come in and rent that property. In beach markets, which is where the majority of my own portfolio is, we have a hybrid strategy where we will have a short-term rental specifically for spring, summer, and fall. And then during the winter months, we are converting to a mid-term rental, which is a longer stay past 30 days. So if I'm not mistaken, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, typically a traveling nurse contract is about 13 weeks. And so one of the benefits of utilizing a short-term rental is because, you've got space beyond an extended stay hotel where you You might have extra amenities. You might be able to feel like you're in a home instead of a hotel. Oftentimes, short-term rentals that cater to traveling nurses and other business professionals are pet friendly. And so if you're traveling with a pet, that's also something that can be really, really beneficial about staying in a short-term rental. So, very much similar to hotels, we are looking as short-term rental operators to provide a wonderful, warm, consistent guest experience. And that's what I really feel like separates the standout operators from the ones who aren't is that focus on guest experience.
Okay. And that actually brings us pretty neatly to my next question, which is what can someone do to make their listing stand out? So you said to make it consistent, to make it neat, to make it just generally good. But what are some maybe specifics that if someone's prepping their place for a short-term rental, they can look at and say, okay, I need to get this done. I need to get this done just for the nurse that's coming to their place.
Yeah. Well, I feel like first and foremost, if they're catering specifically to nurses, they should understand at a very deep level what types of amenities a nurse might appreciate. So I will tell you, I am not a nurse, but I think, again, a nurse might appreciate blackout curtains, especially if they're working an overnight shift. A nurse might appreciate, workout uh, facilities inside the home because chances are they may or may not be able to make it to the gym. A nurse might appreciate a really great coffee maker or, again, being pet friendly, but whatever your ideal guest, whoever that ideal guest is, it's really important to know them at a very detailed level. And so if I were launching a property where I was targeting traveling nurses, I would be getting on the phone with people who are traveling nurses and asking them questions saying, "Hey, tell me about an experience that was really awesome when you were traveling. What was that place like? Tell me about an experience where it wasn't so great. What are you looking for when you are looking for a property to stay in?" So that you have, with great detail, data to rely on. And I'm all about leveraging data to make strategic decisions in our short-term rental businesses. So, what will make a listing stand out is knowing that ideal guest, showing the wonderful amenities and offerings to that ideal guest. So, making sure you've got professional photography with exceptional lighting. That is more than just real estate photography, it is highlighting those magic moments, as I like to call them, inside of a property that's really, really going to draw that potential guest in. It's about the way that we're speaking to the guests. So the way that we're writing our copy is absolutely important. Our listing is one way that we can create a standout experience, but also part of that listing are your reviews. And so making sure, number one, that you're providing a wonderful guest experience, and number two, that you're responding to each and every review. Now, that's not always easy to do at scale, so it's really important to have systems and processes in place. But, in a nutshell, I think having a strong listing in and of itself, a strong property with amenities that speak to your ideal guest, and then packaging that up in your listing. So making sure you've got professional photos, that you've got a headline that draws them in, that you've got copy in your listing description that speaks to that traveling nurse specifically. And again, making sure that you are providing a wonderful guest experience and replying to each and every review.
Okay. Yeah. No, those are some great points. And I wanted to maybe move the question out a bit now, too. It's that is there a business in short-term rentals? I mean, obviously, as we, you know, move through time, I'll say, as the world keeps spinning, more professionals work remotely and they travel for extended stays. So, do you see the rental landscape evolving to meet that? Or do you think that maybe short-term rentals is a fad? I don't think so, but I'm curious to see what you'll think of this.
Oh, I definitely do not think it's a fad. Like it is here to stay and it is absolutely a business. What I feel like happened in past years, especially during COVID, is when everyone was not traveling and then people started traveling, there was a huge boom in travel. And what occurred was, you know, all of these people saw the business opportunity in short-term rentals and they started buying up property, not recognizing that this is a business. If you have one property, you are operating a short-term rental business. And so it's absolutely essential to treat it like such. And so often with folks who just got into the game just for a fast dollar, uh, they're realizing these days that it's way more than just throwing a property up on Airbnb because it is a very competitive landscape and we have to operate with best in class procedures and processes so that we are providing the very best experience for our guests, but we're also operating a sustainable business.
Mhm. And I think for sure since COVID, there has been a spike that's stayed steady in people that want to travel too, because people had that time to just have nothing to do. So then once they were allowed to do travel, just anything out in the open, everyone really realized like, okay, this is great. Getting outside air, it is great.
Yeah. It's so true. And again, I don't see that travel changing. I do think what's changing and what we're seeing right now is so much more last minute travel that's being booked. Those are primarily for vacationers, not so much for traveling nurses per se, but definitely a trend that we're seeing.
Hmm. And I wanted to ask just a small sort of side point is as someone who had Kozy Getaway for as long as you have, has there ever been an issue or a problem that you've experienced with having someone stay at your listing that you would try and like warn people off of? So maybe it was, I know that something often is that tenants can be dirty and they don't clean up after themselves, especially short term rentals. That can be a major issue. But maybe there's something, a more major issue that you've run into.
Yeah. A couple of things come to mind. The first thing I'll say is that as a host and an operator of a short-term rental portfolio, oftentimes, and again, this is a general statement, but oftentimes when people are reaching out in advance saying, "Hey, can you bring down your price? I want to stay at your place, but it's too expensive and I only have this much money." Generally speaking, those are your problem guests. Not always, but generally speaking. And so, I would never advise that we are providing discounts just right out of the gate if someone asks, because most often that type of a guest is going to be looking for other discounts and looking for opportunities to find things wrong in your property and further try to get you to provide refunds. Secondly, I think it's also really important that if you are utilizing a direct booking strategy and having your property listed on your own website, it is incredibly important that you are doing some sort of guest verification. Unfortunately, I have been burned by this, Sam. Okay. Unfortunately, there are people that are buying credit card numbers on the black market. And what is happening is they are booking a short-term rental with a fraudulent credit card. They're coming to stay. Typically, they're more last-minute bookings. So they're not bookings for 6 months out. They're bookings for, hey, I want to check in today or tomorrow. And oftentimes they target brand new listings. So making sure if you have direct bookings and you're processing your own credit cards, that you have some verification in play to make sure that their ID matches their credit card. And I use a third-party service for that guest verification. There are some There's a variety of services that offer that, but I think it's incredibly important because if there is a chargeback, you've got to supply all kinds of documentation showing this was the person on the credit card that booked, this was their ID that we gathered, this was all the communication with them during their stay, this was their signed rental agreement, here's them on the Ring camera. I mean, you've got you're basically having to lay every finite detail out on the line for those credit card companies. I unfortunately, before I had that third party verification system, I was victim of this too, like a fraudulent ring in Myrtle Beach and lost nearly $15,000 from it. So it is it is definitely something to watch out for. The third thing I would say is make sure that you screen your guests. And so we do not allow any local rentals at our properties. So again, a large portion of our portfolio is in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We do not allow locals from Myrtle Beach to come stay with us on the beach for the weekend because most often they're wanting to come party and, you know, live it up on the weekend and not take care of your property. And so, again, finding out why a guest is coming into town, what brings them into town, it is so incredibly helpful to be able to identify, is this the right guest for me?
Oh, yeah. We've actually had a guest on here before, Open Room, that helped screen tenants before they came to the place. And I think that was one of the eye openers of how important security really is for listings. And that's something that Travel Nurse Houses actually like touts itself on because Airbnb, uh, personally speaking, I don't think has the greatest security precautions to prevent tenants. And that's what we have tried to really improve upon is that, you know, unsureness that comes with Airbnb.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I'm going to take a very strong step in a different direction because I wanted to talk about you're an author and you wrote a book. You wrote Live Big, and that's pretty crazy. You're an author.
Think it's pretty crazy as well. It is something that I am so passionate about and helping other people unlock their best potential. And the reason why I wrote the book was I recognized that some people in my own coaching program were actually not recognizing the brilliance that they had inside of them. And so I'm very, very passionate about helping people unlock success. And most often, the biggest thing holding ourselves back is our minds. And so it was a situation where I came straight out of a coaching session and I was like, wow, I need to do something above and beyond what I'm already doing to help these women train their brain to work for them instead of against them. And so I was actually speaking with one of my own coaches and he, suggested, hey, Stacey, you've got to incorporate more mindset into your coaching. And I was like, yeah, I absolutely do. And I'm going to start writing out all the work that I've done on my own mindset and how I've been able to accomplish the things that I have in hopes that it would help them. And once I started writing it out, I thought, well, this could help other people outside of my own coaching program. And so I decided to write it as a book and have it be a guide for female entrepreneurs who want to unlock their next level me. And so it's been really, really rewarding to see that come to life.
Yeah, and I assume that's why it's called Live Big too, because it's all about the mental side of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of people assume live big means luxury or something like that. No, not a bit. It's about thinking big, taking bold actions, and training your brain to serve you instead of work against you.
So, on the topic of Live Big, I wanted to know if there was a specific lesson or chapter that you think anybody who even is thinking about getting your book, or even, maybe it's for me, should look into as something that you think stands out against the whole rest of the book?
Wow, that is a really tough one. Because there are many chapters with many different lessons. And so I'll share with you one of the key lessons I talk about is trusting your intuition. And I call it utilizing your God rod. And I think about my God rod as being a piece of steel rebar that comes through the actual core of my body and provides support for me. And um, it is something that I visualize in a physical sense, also coming out the top of my head. Now, your listeners might be like, wow, the Stacey girl is really wacky right now. But visualization is so incredibly helpful for me because I'm a visual person. And the way that I look at my God rod is that it is something that when I feel, sometimes things occur where I feel pulled to a certain decision, or I feel pulled to a certain level of uncomfortableness. Um, Oftentimes we ignore those feelings. Oftentimes we try and shy away from them, or second guess them. And what I really think is important is that our intuition is there for a purpose. And oftentimes it's to help protect us, but other times it's to help us lean into opportunities. And so recognizing when your God rod, when your intuition is talking to you is super duper important. So we talk about how to do that. And also the benefits of trusting your intuition and how it can really, really shape tremendous opportunities in your life that you would have ignored otherwise. So that's one of the many, 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 many lessons we talk about in the book, but certainly something right before this recording, I was actually on a call with someone who had just read the book. And I asked her, what was your favorite chapter? What stood out to you? And she said, that God rod, like, boy, oh boy, was that life changing for me. So,
No, I think that is absolutely a valid point, because part of the mental is the fact that it affects the physical. So having the physical that you have created from the mental, the sort of visualization, is a great sort of strategy that people use. I think it's even used in meditation across many different forms of meditation too. So certainly the God rod is a very good point to make, because I think that could actually be uh, the type of thing that would help push people to get the proper headspace they need.
yeah. The other thing that is one of my favorite lessons in the book is um, someone I call Grumpy Greg. And Grumpy Greg is um, our negative voices that live inside of our head. And Grumpy Greg's goal is to, you know, protect you. It's stemming out of your subconscious mind, and I won't bore you with all the details about how your conscious mind differs from your subconscious mind, but Grumpy Greg is there to protect you, but oftentimes he is replaying negative thoughts and beliefs from years past based on situations that occurred, as when you were a child, or a negative situation that occurred. And so when Grumpy Greg is out of his cage, oftentimes we're repeating things in our minds that are limiting, that we're putting ourselves down. We're saying things like, no, I don't have time to do that. Oh no, I want to do that, but you know what? I'm just not skilled like she is. Or, you know what? I want to invest in short-term rental properties, but I don't know a thing about what I'm doing and I would just mess it up. Or I don't want to lose money. I mean, all of these things that we replay in our minds, we have hundreds of thousands of thoughts each and every day, and the vast majority of them are negative and they're on repeat. And so when we get Grumpy Greg in his cage, we recognize what those negative voices are. When he's in his cage, he's harmless. When he's out of his cage, that's when those negative thoughts are on repeat, and we've got to work to get him back in his cage. So that's another lesson that I teach in the book, and certainly something that has helped me over the years and recognizing the power of positivity, the power of positive thinking, the power of celebrating wins and successes, even if they're minuscule, right? And being able to take each day with a stride, one step in front of the other. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be, unicorns and rainbows, but we can choose in how we react to certain situations and choose in how we respond from a physical sense, what we say to other people and what we say to ourselves.
And this is a great segue. It's great points you're making. And I wonder why. Well, you run a community of success driven, capable women of business, the STR Sisterhood, and the podcast too. So, could you tell me about the group, how you collaborate with each other to achieve even greater accomplishments? And on top of that, how you help them reach this headspace that your book was also trying to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a variety of different communities, and they're all geared to help women in this industry become their very best and stretch themselves. And so inside the STR Sisterhood, we have a variety of resources available to them, right? So we have ways for them to get feedback on their listings. We have um, ways that they can swap stays. They can, post their property and oh my goodness, I get to go stay on this other property. We had one woman who was property in Hawaii and she was wanting to swap a stay for like somewhere on the East Coast. And I was like, wow, I'll go to Hawaii. uh, we have all types of training and education. So we've got training sessions 2 and 3 times a week available to these women at all different aspects of our industry, from, property acquisition to AI and technology to furnishing and design to guest operations to processes and procedures, property management. There are so many different niche categories within our businesses. And so we're providing training several days a week. We have personalized one-on-one coaches inside the sisterhood. I go in there every week and do a live Q&A session for anyone who wants to join and say, can we just talk about the latest Airbnb terms and conditions, or if they have a specific problem, I can help them. We also have a course in there, all available to help these women, again, unlock their very best. And then I have other coaching programs beyond the sisterhood. If someone says, hey, wait a minute, I want support at a deeper level, we absolutely have resources available for them as well.
Okay. Okay. And what would the deeper level, you mean more specific, catered towards them?
Yeah, so my flagship community is the STR Success Accelerator. So the STR Sisterhood is a larger community. The STR Success Accelerator is a training, mentoring, and mastermind program specifically for women in the short-term rental space. And we have training and coaching calls 4 days a week. We have accountability pods. We have a book club. We have all types of documents, tools, templates that they can utilize in their businesses. We have an annual retreat where we are studying hospitality. As an example, we are going to Disney World this year for our retreat.
Oh,
Yeah, we are studying the gold standard of hospitality, and that's Disney, right? And guest experience. And so we're not going there to just ride Space Mountain. We're going there to actually do a live case study in hospitality. And beyond that, what I would say, Sam, is we are giving women real-time support. So they always feel like, oh my goodness, I have a question and I don't know the answer. They have, hundreds of women from all around the world where they can pick up the phone, send a text, get questions answered in real time.
yeah. A useful resource for sure. For sure. And finally, I have my last question, and this is definitely more general. But if you have one piece of advice that you wanted to share with someone to succeed and find that path to their goals, what would it be?
Well, one piece of advice is in order to find the path toward your goals, you have to know what your goals are. And oftentimes, as crazy as it sounds, people aren't clear on their goals. And in order to train our mind to work for us, as I just spoke about, your subconscious mind needs clarity on the specific target outcome, and it needs to be measurable. It needs to be obviously achievable, relevant, and timely. So we need to have very, very specific words that we use when it comes to creating our goals so that we're able to train our mind and our God rod to look for opportunities to source solutions to bring that to life.
Okay. And so honestly, it's all about the headspace at the end. It's keep a good head. And I feel like that is the best advice to give because the best head is the way to go forward. You can't be telling yourself you'll fail and then think you'll succeed. You have to believe it all the way.
Amen.
Mhm.
Amen. You got it, my friend.
And as that was the last question, I think we'll wrap up for today. And I think that was a very informative lesson for anyone watching. I feel like anyone who is doubting themselves or had any questions about short term rentals really should feel a lot more confident. And if you don't, then you weren't paying attention because confidence is the name of the game. So thank you, Stacey. I really appreciate you coming on. You were a great guest. And for my listeners, is there a place that they could find you and the STR Sisterhood if they wanted more of your content?
Absolutely. The best place to find me is on my website, which is staceystjohn.com. And from there, you can connect to all of my online communities and support. So that's the
Mm.
best place to get.
Okay, perfect. It will be in the link in the description. So anyone watching, go check it out. Go click on that link. Don't click on that link. I know some people are going to hear this and not click on it. So go click on it.
That's funny. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no problem. You were great. And I've been Sam. This has been Traveler's Haven. And I wish you safe travels.